Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another live stream on the Costume Co channel. And tonight I'm so delighted to have Eric Winterling here. He's my guest. He is coming all the way from his kitchen in New York City. Maybe he'll whip up a dish for us later. Um, but anyway, welcome, Eric. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I was pestering him. I've been pestering him for the last few weeks. So he finally conceded and decided he would be willing to come on here. But we have so much to talk about. So we're going to get.
My husband used to say, I like nothing better than the sound of my own voice. So,
Great. Well, we've got lots of questions and we're going to show lots of awesome pictures as well.
Okay.
So Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into costuming?
Well, that's a kind of a long story, but I think I started sewing when I was about 12, and my mother made her own clothes, and she did not set out to teach me how to sew. I had my sister. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, and then my sister is the youngest, and my mother started making clothes for her and doing smocking and all sorts of things. And somewhere around, at some point, I started reading the pattern envelopes and the instructions, and they all made perfect sense to me. And I think that the pattern books, they still have doll clothes patterns. So I would make Barbie doll clothes from the patterns, and they also had stuffed toys. So I would hand sew everything, and buy commercial patterns. I had a paper route, and so I was funded. And so we had a neighborhood fabric store, we became friends, Fred and I, and I just started. I remember there was an orange gingham dog that I made, and I had a little table down in the basement, and I was putting it together, and my mother was like, "What is this?" And I showed her, and she asked if she could tie it to a baby shower gift that she was going to. So I finished it. Yeah. The dog got passed around the circle of women, and they were like, "Eileen, you have to put him on the machine." And so that's how I started sewing. So I started making clothes for my sister, and then I started making clothes for myself, and started making clothes for people in the neighborhood, prom dresses, whatever, so.
When did you start to charge, though? When did you start to make this into a little business?
I mean, money. I mean, my Aunt Kate, when I made a green felt hippopotamus, and I still have that pattern. And she stuffed $5 in my hand and was out the door. And I remember thinking, even at that age, this should be 10, because I did the math real fast in my head. I'm like, this is not enough. And but she was gone with it already. So it was, I virtually sold the first thing I made. So.
Yeah, so she got one of your originals, so it's going to be worth a lot of money now.
It's it would be exactly what you would expect.
Exactly. I was going to say,
but it was. I still remember the pattern and walking through the instructions, and doing each thing, like going word by word, and it was all by hand, and so.
Yeah, I used to like my mom. If my mom had cut out a pattern, and then there would always be scraps of fabric. Did you ever do that? Like use the scraps of fabric left over from or did your mom sew?
No, not really. What I remember, what I know is that my mother and father. So I have 3 older brothers, and my mother bought a sewing machine, a Singer slant needle. I still have that machine today, and part of the deal with buying the machine is if she could find 4 or 5 other people, women in the neighborhood, that they would send someone and offer classes in someone's home to teach them how to use the machine. And so they would teach them how to make welt pockets and do that. And so, I mean, I have pictures of my brothers in Easter outfits that my mother made, and her, her ensemble, and so by the time I came along, she wasn't sewing that way. It wasn't that mass production. So, and the other thing about my mother is that, I don't know how she did it. She only sewed, by the time 3 o'clock came around, she had to start dinner, and she would have to go get my father at work and all of that. She always had a brown paper bag pinned to the edge of the dining room table where she was working. And she would, there were no scraps on the floor. There was no,
Wow.
She was very, very meticulous, because she knew she was going to have to be the one to clean it up. So I think
that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't want that part. So
I just want to say hello to a few people in the chat. Hello, everyone. And tonight we're here with Eric Winterling. He is a New York City custom costume and dressmaker. I don't know if that's the correct. How do you describe yourself? What would you call yourself?
I call myself a theatrical costume maker.
Yes. Okay. And when we mean theatrical, we mean for theater, for film, for television, probably commercials.
Yes, opera, ballet.
Opera, ballet. Okay. All right. So, so anyway, thanks for everyone who's joining in right now. So now I know you've had your studio, I think, for about 30 years.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us a bit about how that all started?
Well, I had, let me see, I graduated from college from Temple University in 1983. And I was going to move to New York to be with my boyfriend, but a job at Houston Opera opened up. And that was a very different time. There weren't theatrical programs for, there weren't college degrees in costume technology. I basically, my first year, I was like, I know there's a costume shop here somewhere. And so I went in search of it, and there was Colleen in the back there, draping a medieval cotardie on a half-scale form for her master's at the Costume Institute. And she was, I said, well, I would like to volunteer, and she said, well, we're not here to teach people how to sew. And I said, I already know how to sew. And she said, later she said, she thought to herself, yeah, right. So I showed up, and I started by hand flatting, and, then I started getting, more sophisticated projects. We worked at Villanova University that summer, and, doing Shakespeare plays, that sort of thing. So then I went to Houston. That was 3 years. That was about as much as I could stand. And I wanted to move to New York and be with my boyfriend. And so I did that. And, you have a lot of things going on. And, we have the AIDS crisis. I ended up working for a costume shop for about 3 years. And then that costume shop was closing. And that's when I decided that at the age of 29, that I would like to just, I have the energy now to start this business, and I'd rather do it now than when I was 40. And so I just started with the machine, and in the back of this studio that my friend Marie had. And, I slowly started to gain customers. And, I've discovered that when you can make things, there's people that will come to you. It's better to
Absolutely. Yes.
I like working in theater. I mean, I like working in show business. The price is already negotiated, or as my sister, the accountant, would say, what you make is pre-sold. And so, as opposed to doing private clients, I find that is always a mystery, and you sort of need a designer. It's hard to be a designer and a maker at the same time.
Mhm. Now, did you ever do any designing though? You know, I know
Sure.
you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's I could be a designer. I think me personally, I think my design work is mediocre. I think I'm a much better draper. I
Mhm.
think I can bring a lot to the table with designers. I think I can make their dreams come true. Being a designer, I found to be not a very satisfying job, and that's just me personally. And uh,
Yeah, you actually probably do what more people think a costume designer does,
I
than
mean,
what a real costume designer does. Because I've done a couple of, I've done a couple of videos like misconceptions of what a costume designer does, and I think people think that they make beautiful clothes, but really, that's not really what they do. Although I know you've talked about the story, though, that being a very important part of
well,
the.
yes. I mean, you have to serve the script.
Mhm.
I have a friend who is, he was like, oh, I think being a costume designer would be just the greatest job. When I get dressed for Halloween, I, come up with these things that are just so fantastic. And I'm like, dude, this is about a story, and
Mhm.
you have this is about something. This is about a bigger idea, and the people in you have characters, and you have and what they're wearing tells you something about them, and it's not about getting dressed for Halloween. It's and I mean, that is its own unique talent. But you know, but not only designing, uh, what you think that character wears. You get someone into a fitting room and you start talking about it. Well, you have to listen to what that person is telling you about what they think their character is,
Mhm.
and you need to be able to negotiate what that is, because there's no point in putting an actress into something that she doesn't. I mean, it doesn't work. It's not going to work. I mean, if that's not who she thinks the character is. I mean,
Yeah, and then you get the opinions of the directors and the producers, and you're getting you're getting a room full of people
I
with
mean,
their own
that's
ideas.
where the job gets very difficult, and
Yes.
and but a lot of times the whole thing is a project of discovery,
Mhm.
where who are these people, and it has. I mean, even Mike Nichols told you it's his job was 90% casting, because you think of like The Graduate, that movie,
Mhm.
he talks about Robert Redford auditioning for that role of Dustin Hoffman's. It would have been a different, he's like, Mike Nichols said, Robert, have you ever been turned down by a girl? I mean,
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, it's just a different, the actors bring so much to the role.
Mhm.
I mean, everything, so that you really have to listen to them about what it is they're wearing and what they think the scene is about. You know.
So my next question then is, now when you're taking on a client, what kind of research is involved, and what's your process regarding that?
Um, well, there is so
Well, I mean, I assume they email you or something to start.
we usually have a meeting.
Sure. Okay.
They want me to bid on. So the other thing is, a lot of my clients um, are people that I've worked with for many, many years. So
Mhm.
we already have a relationship, and so the research, they will come in with a lot of the research, and a lot of the research I recognize from what's out there, and so I can either go onto the internet or go to my bookshelf and pull out something from Janet Arnold and say, so if we're looking at this dress, what do we think this is? And so um, you know uh, but there's a lot of work on like foundations and, you know, what is underneath everything. You know, it all, and how we arrive at what that is different in each case. You know, do I call period corsets? Do I call, I mean, is it being custom made somewhere else? Being downloaded off the internet? I mean, you know, Cindy Setji has a wonderful collection of, you know, Regency stays patterns that, you know, we've availed ourselves of, you know, very good.
Yeah, like with Mrs. Maisel, I understood that they got her corsets made in Paris, I think.
There's the corset lady. I don't think it's, but when they were shooting in Paris, they there is someone there that they did use that made her bras and her
briefs, her bloomers.
No, it was like well, there's a garment.
Oh yes,
there's a garment out there called a Krakowski.
Okay.
That is that's named after William Ivy Long named it after Jane Krakowski. So she had been to France and she had this foundation garment made that's basically power net. It's almost like a, if you could take an 18th century corset, a late 18th century corset that's cut low beneath the breasts, and it's just power net, and you just step into it, and it has two straps, but it has these incredible bones on the side that really dig in and give you a waist, you know, and
I think we used to call those like waspies.
Yeah.
If they're like shorter, right? They go below, they're below the bust and then just on the high hip, or do they just go to the waist?
Would wear your bra and then you have this. And so Rachel's was something along that line, and it was on a trunk, and it you know, but it was very clever, you know, and sort of effortless.
Sounds like some good engineering going on, though. Well, and we're going to talk about Mrs. Maisel in a little bit. We're going to get, but before we do that, what is it like for you when you go to see a show? Let's say you go to see a Broadway show, which I know you've done a lot of, or you go to see something on the big screen like Mirror Mirror, or what's it called? That I was just seeing on your website. I did see it was nominated for an Oscar.
Ma Rainey?
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Yeah. What's it like for you when you go to see
an Oscar? Excuse me.
Won an Oscar. My apologies.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. What's it like for you when you go to see a show or a movie or a musical that you have your costumes in? What's that feeling like for you?
I mean, it can be wonderful. It can be like, I mean, you know, I mean,
like a knife to the heart?
Well, I mean, you know, sometimes things, I mean, usually when they're on film, first of all, I have to say that the wardrobe departments on all of those things, really, it's an incredible job that they do, and they take care and they make sure that those garments are as perfect as they can possibly be for those shots. I mean, they work incredibly. I mean, sometimes when I see things on film under lights, and I'm like, wow, that looks great, you know, and you know, we have great lighting in our shop and all of that stuff, but nothing beats it being filmed, you know. And so you know, it can be an exhilarating experience, and for the most part it is, you know, but sometimes you're like, oh, why didn't they fix that collar, you know? And so
yeah, well, my thing is that, or it's really dark. Like, I don't think any of your shows that I know of are like that, but some shows, you know, you go to watch it and you're like, you can't see the costumes, it's so dark. Like Game of Thrones, for instance. Just throwing that one out there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in the end, you just, you know, this is this is how I make a living. And so, you know, it's a part of the bigger picture, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, it's not my story that's being told. It's your story. So
Well, the one thing that's nice about like on stage is that like you really see the sparkle. Like if it's something that has, you know, beating or sequins or
yes,
something, you really see that. Whereas you don't tend to see that. That's my experience. You don't tend to see it as much in film. So
listen to me, you know, talk about you can't see the costumes. You should have seen the Scarlet Pimpernel, the first production. We made all of these, you know, the French aristocrats that were thrown in the Bastille. And you couldn't see, I mean, it was pitch black. You couldn't see anything. And, you know, it wasn't until Robert Longbottom was hired as the director that he sort of rearranged the whole thing. And all of a sudden, all these things that we had made, I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot about that one.
yeah,
And
yeah. It's like something in the deep background. It's
yeah,
like,
but
wait.
on to back to Sparkle, you know, I mean, you know, I love bugle beads. I love the different music, the different quality that beads bring to how something looks. And you know, everyone's like, oh, it needs to be hot fix stones, and I find hot fix stones to be, I mean, sure they sparkle, but I find that they're, you know, they're not sophisticated, and of course they're just glued on. I mean, so. But we're not above using them, so you know.
Sure, like or Swarovski crystals.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they do give a little bit of a punch there. Okay, so we're going to start getting into some of your shows, and
Okay.
this is super exciting for me. So what I'm going to do, actually, I was just testing this with Eric earlier, is I'm going to share the screen. Okay, so just give me a moment, guys, because I have to do technology here, which I love.
Okay,
So
you're doing a great job. Okay.
all right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So here we are. This is Eric's website, by the way, everyone. And here's what, and I was just telling him it's such a beautiful website. It's really dynamic,
Thank you.
and you know, colorful. So I've put it in the chat. Sorry, I've put it in the description below. So if anyone wants to go and check it out, you can see this is obviously from Frozen. That's the musical, though. You did, though, I believe, right? So, but anyway, we're gonna first talk about. Now my mouse doesn't work. So we were going to talk about Mirror Mirror,
Okay.
and now I'm a huge fan of Eiko. I hope I say her name right. Eiko Ishioka.
Yes, that's right.
Is that correct? Okay. So of course, she did Bram Stoker's Dracula,
Right.
which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
On that, yeah.
So let's just go here to our work, and then I'm going to go down and we'll pull it up.
Okay. There you go.
There we are. Okay. And here's an example, a close-up of some of your beading.
Right. I will tell you that, you know, as a result of Mirror Mirror, and that sleeve in particular, that is that beading was done by Polly Isham Kinney, and that working on that show is what made me find Lesage and go to Lesage and learn more about beading, because we up until that point we used to subcontract our beading to Bessie Nelson, and it was as a result of that movie that I had to have beading in the shop. It had to be like that.
Now, Lesage, do they work with Elsa Schiaparelli?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
How
long they've been around? How long have they been around then?
They've been around since about 1888.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, it's unbelievable.
They have an incredible archive, which I actually didn't see. But the thing about going to Lesage, now I just paid $500 and I made a butterfly. They have a bigger they have a bigger sampler that, you know, they're like little kits, and they teach you
I'll find it down.
They teach you the samples, like doing an embroidery sampler, you know,
Oh
like
yeah.
cross stitch and a satin stitch and this. So they have this sampler that is every kind of beading that they have, and it's all in a bag, and you know, you can go and pay some money and they'll teach you how to do that, right? So the thing about going to Lesage was that it freed my brain up, you know, and suddenly, you know, I had Bessie come in and teach me beading, and then we could see the women that I have that work for me and the men, you know, they all gave gave a try at it, and you could see some people, you know, because it's crocheting, and so it's some people can do it, and some people it doesn't mean anything to them. I can Nalima and Irish, you know, they're fantastic beaters, and so you know, and it's the design, and then it's the working it out, you know, and doing it with the team.
So did you learn how to do this and then did it yourself, or did you hire them to do it? Or both?
I hired them to do it.
Oh yes, because that
I really I would have to really sit down and focus on, and I, you know, with sewing, anything like that, you have to, the world has to go away, right?
Oh, yeah.
When doing it. I right now in my job, there's no way that I could do something like that.
Yeah. So here's your bugle beads here, I believe.
Yes.
And then there's some sequins. What do you call these? These, can you see my arrow here? What do you call those? Are they flat or are they?
Those, I believe, are lock rosins. They're
okay.
Round.
Sure.
They have a hole in the middle. Yeah, those are locks. So those are in different millimeter sizes.
So, okay. Obviously you got to work with Julia Roberts, or did you get to work with her?
Yes.
Did you get to meet her?
Yes.
Did you get, but you did some of the other costumes in here as well, but you didn't get to do Snow or Charming, I guess, or Prince Charming. No. Okay. So here's oh my gosh, like these, I mean, I can't even believe how amazing these are. I'll pull it down here for you.
So if you look at we had to make 2 of those dresses, and Aiko came in after we made the first one and told me she didn't like the embroidery in the front of the dress. And
wow.
So we had, I mean, let me just see. Yeah. So we had to go to Penn and Fletcher, and they redid, we had Andrew Marley draw out the new design. We copied her sketch faithfully, and she just, I mean, to her point, it needed to be prettier. I mean,
okay, sure. Yeah, because she's pretty vain, right?
Well, I mean, you know, Aiko was a funny character. You know, she was a bit passive aggressive, and so she wouldn't really tell you that she didn't like something until it was a little bit too late.
Oh,
so,
okay.
God rest her soul.
Yeah. And this is the last movie she ever did, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. And then, is this like a footman? I'm not sure if I know this character, if I recall this character.
That was just somebody that they said, hey, do you want to do this? And we had a tailor available.
Mm-hmm. Now this one, I mean, I don't know which one's your favorite, but this one is just absolutely stunning. And I love how you have the pictures in the workroom, you know, of you working out the patterns and everything. That's what's so great about your website.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that people really like to see those pictures. And so I've started posting more of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it was a rough go, that all of those things, I will say, because Aiko, you know, I would never know if that sleeve was right. And it was mm-hmm. funny, but that was the same year as the McQueen exhibit at the Met. And the book arrived. I bought the book. I bought it online, and I opened the page, and that sleeve was in one of the McQueen photographs. And I was like, why couldn't you just give me that picture? Why,
mm-hmm.
why did I have to, you know? And so because her sketches. Oh, yes, it is. I couldn't quite, you know, the way that she draws the sketch in a sort of almost like a childlike you know, way that, you know, she doesn't give you a hint of where the fullness is to come from and where, you know, it's just fake. And so the McQueen, I could see it has that seam on the outside which creates the shape.
Yeah, and I mean, are these her sketches?
Yes, that's your sketch.
Oh, they are. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because it's so funny. They're completely different than Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like the style is completely different.
Well, actually, they're very similar, and the ways that that's the way. I once had a designer pick up one of those sketches and go, "These sketches, if I did these, no way." I mean,
yeah,
because nowadays they really want more virtual, more reality. They want less 2D design like that.
Yeah, I think they're now hiring, even if the designer, like I saw, for instance, Kashia's sketches are very whimsical, but then they'll hire, I think, an actual, you know, they'll do it in 3D and they'll put the actors' faces in. I see a lot now.
Yes.
So, I mean, this one on the right is sort of more along the lines of what you would see in a costume rendering now.
That's Mary Peterson, her assistant.
Oh, really? Amazing. Yeah. This green one. Oh my God. oh, yeah. So gorgeous.
Yeah. I mean, wonderful. I mean, it was challenging. It was, you know, I have, I'm a little older now. I have better sense of, of when someone comes in and of what we're doing with all of this. But yeah, I mean,
the chatter being a bit cheeky. They're saying, I'm assuming you mean Alexander McQueen, and then Natural says no, it was Steve McQueen, who, yes, he was a wonderful fashion designer.
No, it's Alexander McQueen.
It's Alexander McQueen. Steve McQueen had great style, though.
Steve McQueen had great style, but not something that ACO would copy from.
No, definitely not. And this is a situation where you did actually do the underpinnings, but it's very unusual, right?
Well, that's very. Those aren't the underpinnings, you know.
Oh, they're not. Okay.
That's a costume. That's
yes. It's supposed to look like a corset and a hoop skirt.
It's all made out of reeds, and that's Elizabeth Polkovitz, who works for me, figured all of that out. But that's not something that was actually worn. As a matter of fact, that corset, it didn't hold Julia in at all, you know, and it was just ACO being ACO. I mean, and
it's sort of outerwear as.
What's so interesting to me about this costume is that Julia did not want it to be revealing. You know, I think that she took this project on so she could make a film that her kids could see. And so she really, like, when you see the picture of Julia up there, she wanted bloomers under the, and she didn't want the tapes on the hoops to have an hourglass shape. She wanted them straight, you know. She didn't want it to be sexy. It's funny. It's
that's interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that was strictly made for that scene of her getting dressed for the wedding. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how she's holding. It looks like they almost look like plungers, like giant, where she's holding on to it, I guess, while she's getting, technically speaking, like pulled into her, that trope of being fastened into your corset.
Exactly.
So anyways, but now looking back years later at this, you know, I don't know how many years it's been, but it's got to be at least 20.
I think it's at least 11 years. I think it's 2000. I think.
Oh, okay. I for some reason I felt like it was so much longer. But you must feel immense pride looking back at this.
What's that? Immense pride?
You must feel immense pride looking back at these pictures. Or maybe you don't. Maybe I got it wrong.
I mean, I think that they're. I mean, they're great. You know, that red dress, it's funny. When that movie was being released, that dress was, I have this saying, uh, and it's, you know, it's when, make sure that when it leaves, it's as perfect as you can make it, because you never know when it's going to end up on the side of a bus. And I'm telling you, that dress was on every telephone booth from my shop to my
Wow.
apartment, and that's not a few. And those butterfly wings,
Yeah.
uh, God bless Juan Morris, who works for me, who did the tiniest little stitches to get those things absolutely perfect, you know, and the way, because we made them with Foss shape and cut them out, and he carefully hand sewed the inside of each hole in there. So I mean, that's what I think of. I think of the people that worked, you know, and Dusha, who was project managing that. She lives in Switzerland now. She went back to Switzerland, and you know, figuring out those icicles that come up from her head. We had them laser cut. You know, really.
Yeah,
You know,
looking at those like the kind of like giant epaulets, I think that probably nowadays maybe they would even 3D print them. You know, it looks like something you could probably 3D print.
well, I don't really have a lot of experience with 3D printing. 3D
Yeah.
printing is the new, what we used to say, oh, well, maybe we should cut it on the bias. 3D printing is not necessarily something that's lightweight.
Yeah.
My things I try to keep low tech, and I try not to go expensive right away. But my friend Mio has a 3D printer, and so I could ask him. But the thing is that they had to be covered in the dress fabric, so 3D
Yeah.
wouldn't really work for that.
It's a fake fact. Okay. I was saying the chat are being cheeky. So let's go to, what do I have here? We're going to talk about, this is really, I was so excited to talk to you about, is The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I don't know who in the chat has seen the show. I think a lot of you have seen it. I don't know if everyone's seen Mirror Mirror. It was one of those movies that didn't get as much attention, sadly. I have seen it. I watch it with my kids, but this show has, like, Eric, I think I saw you say something on social media about when you did the black dress, the one that ended up in the Smithsonian, that you had no idea this show was going to take off the way it did. Is that correct?
No, correct. That's absolutely correct. Because the way that it was, well, I mean, again, you know, that isn't the first TV show I've ever done, but it's certainly the most. It's sort of given me something that I can go, oh, well, this is one of the things, and everyone's heard of it, right? And so, you know, and so
There's a dress there.
Nice about it. But you know, when it started, so Donna Zakowska, I've worked with for 30 years, and she would bring, always include me. Like, she won an Emmy for John Adams. We did all of Abigail's clothes. We've done things, many things, film projects throughout the years. And so she brought this to me and Midge's Clothes, and it was the pilot. And so we did it, you know, and then she one day said, oh, you know, they're picking that series up, and I'm not sure that I knew what that meant, you know, so, or what was involved in something like that. So,
because I think it was the first Amazon show. I if I recall, I think it was the first series. Well, like
Amy Sherman Palladino, who's you know, she's really a creative and incredible writer and storyteller, and she's a great person, and so. You know, I mean, I will follow her to the ends of the earth. So, I mean, you know, I got to know her over the time, you know, I mean, so I think the quintessential episode is in season 2. I call it the yellow dress episode, where she, this one. Yeah.
At the
Yeah, when
Catskills.
they're up in the Catskills, and that's the quintessential Mrs. Maisel episode, and
Mhm.
I think that's the one they all won an Emmy for. Excuse me.
Yeah, and of course, and I know you didn't have anything to do with this, but the accessories, always
Yeah,
amazing. The hats, the gloves, the handbag. Like, look at that little handbag she's holding there, little straw.
right. When we would have a fitting, pre-pandemic, it would be in my shop in the fitting room, and they would lay out all the shoes in a rainbow spectrum, have all these purses, and they would we would fit the garment. They would Lynn Mackey would be have the hat mock up, or whatever stage the hat was in, then the shoes, then the bag, then the gloves. All of them were there, buttons, everything.
Now, Natural has a few questions. So the first one is, okay, yes, the black dress is sort of an Audrey Hepburn, like inspiration from Audrey Hepburn, I understand.
I think that she used this Sabrina dress
Mhm.
as an inspo. Sure, yeah.
And then the other thing she says, and this is, you and I were chatting about this before, is she says the black dress was it was actually this red dress over here that during the pandemic, the one on the far right here, I think you can see my
Yes.
cursor, guys. That how did that all come about, by the way, that you offered up that pattern?
Well, the Costume Industry Coalition, we formed.
You can click on it there.
It all started as a, you know, all of us here that own costume shops, John Christensen, Tricorn, Bethany Joy, we all we started just emailing each other, because I don't know if you remember when the first shutdown, we first shut down, it was for 2 weeks. I was supposed to go to Japan with Frozen. I was, all of this, and we were all just trading information about what we're doing, and so that sort of grew into an organization that we were trying to fundraise for people and for shops that were on the verge of collapse, which, I mean, we all did very well. I mean, we did well during the pandemic. We had film work. We had Gilded Age, and we had Maisel the following September startup. And so, but we had to take precautions in we had to mask. We had to mask up for fittings. The fittings couldn't happen in the shop. And
did you have to test as well? Did your team have to test, like the quick swab test?
Oh yeah, we had to test, and it all became normalized,
Sure.
through time, right? And so at the first it was very foreign, and I have a couple of pictures of me with this big mask on. I mean, you just didn't need that, as we came to understand. And so
looking back on it now, it seems so odd.
The thing about the dress pattern is that it started out with Tricorn offering up a Spencer pattern from Hamilton that Paul Tazwell designed and that Bernadette Banner made, and that proved to be one of the most successful ways we could raise money. Imagine that: make things and sell them. Okay, so and so we then I talked to Donna, and we sort of came up with this red dress as a good thing that would make a good pattern that we could. And by that time, we had learned a few things, like we really needed to go to someone that could give us a standard grade, a pattern grade, and we needed to
that it would be available in other like multiple sizes.
Exactly. And there's,
okay,
there's people that do that, where you send them a pattern and that they turn it into a size. Well, we wanted to make sure that we covered size 0 to size 34, and so you know, which we didn't do with the Spencer project, you know. And so, so I mean, it was just, you know, and then I made dresses for some of the girls in the shop to demonstrate different fabrics that it would work well in, and we did a video of how to make it. There's some tricky parts to it, and you know, we sort of it's the same dress pattern, but we sort of well, actually, I mean, we didn't really change it that much. You know,
what's the original made out of? Is it silk?
It's a red file.
Okay.
You know, it's yeah. I mean, interestingly enough, you know, that dress, I had to make it over because the first version, so that was still in season 1, and that was maybe the 4th episode. I don't know. So we were still finding our sea legs, as it were, and you know, I made that dress like a 50s dress. So I put a side placket in it and had it go on over her head, and so it just wasn't going to work that way.
Okay.
I had to remake the dress with a center back zipper because, you know, there's lunch breaks. You know, the wig goes on first, and you can't.
Yes, and I think she wears it at a dinner, like I think with her family.
But that scene could be shot for a whole day, and so she's going to want to take that dress off for lunch, but they're probably not going to take the wig off, and so the dress can't go on and off over the head. She has to step into everything. So that's when we started with the everything has a zipper up the back, an invisible zipper, and so it works pretty well, you know.
Yeah, so these are the practical considerations you have to think about.
What's that?
When you're like versus like a 50s dress, you have to have the practical, something practical regarding getting in and out of the costume. Because I, you know, whenever I remember looking at 50s dresses, a lot of times they have that side zip, which I always hate those.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, just for getting them on, like yourself, right? Like if you want to buy a 50s dress and then trying to get that thing on, because we're not used to that.
No.
And we're not skinny like they were in the 50s.
They all have waist seams, and so you have to get get it on over that. You know, it usually ends up in the front, or it has like a little keyhole in the back. It's not enough. You need something more, you know.
Yeah. Well, the one that's my favorite is this one. This is my absolute favorite. The issue is the Bergdorf Goodman, the department store.
It's Altman's.
Altman's. Okay.
Works. Yeah.
And I love this.
A story about where all the clothes came from, and
are they from her mom? I thought she raised her mom's closet a lot.
No,
you made up your own story. What's your story?
Right, my story is because my husband used to work at Saks.
Okay.
And, you know, they would have double discount, and that's when everything would go on sale. And if you worked there, the things were practically free. And so I made up a story. I even told it to Rachel that, you know, Midge would go around and pick out the dresses and tell all her girlfriends that still worked at Altman's which dresses she wanted. And so once they went on double, she would get them for cheap. And so that's where all the clothes came from. That's the story I made up.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah. So that's your, we have a word for that. It's like headcanon or subtext, you know.
Yeah.
That's in fandom, they call that, I think, like headcanon. You've created this sort of idea. I love that. Do you have a favorite dress from the show? I mean, I know there's other dresses you've made that aren't even here.
What?
I know there's other dresses from the show that you've made that aren't even on your website, I believe.
My absolute, well, yeah, this hasn't been updated, but my absolute favorite is the final dress, the 4 minutes.
Yes, with a bow.
Yeah.
Is it gold?
What?
Is it a gold bow? I'm trying to remember.
Well, you know, it's funny. Everyone calls it a gold bow, and it's a pink bow. And,
it is.
But
which is perfect for Midge. It should be pink.
So it's a gold bow. So you know, but there's something. I mean, all of these black performance dresses, I will say, she's very smart. Donna is, and you know, the graphic quality of Rachel on stage in the spotlight of her person and the whatever the neckline is that sort of creates this scene.
Oh,
neckline.
Oh, we lost you for a second there. Sorry, Eric.
Oh.
You want to say again what you were just saying about her being on stage? Or she's
just the beautiful, graphic quality of the neckline and her skin in the spotlight. I just think it makes a wonderful image on screen.
Oh yeah, I was just going to see if I can find that costume, and I can pull it over here. Oh yeah, here it is. Well, I'm putting it on top. Is this it here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a pale pink then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there is. She does have another costume. I think here's another one here. She does have another costume, I believe, that is, does have sort of, and maybe it's not gold either. Maybe I thought it was. And then it's just slightly off the shoulder, but just kind of a little bit more narrow and a little more skin showing.
Yes. I mean, she has another black dress that's slim, that has it's a black bow I think there's a piece of jewelry that they put on the bow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, how do I get rid of this now? That's
You're on your own. I don't know how to help you.
Oh wait, here. Okay. Let me see if I can escape it. Go back to where I was. Maybe I can bring it over here. Here, let's close that. Does that work? Nope. Okay, now I'll just stop sharing, and then I'll have to go back to sharing again because I've totally screwed up. See if I can get back to your website. All right. So next, though, we're going to start talking about, we're going to talk about the Gilded Age. But before I do that, let me just see if I can get this back up again. Sorry, guys. Like I'm not a technical person here, so I'm trying.
You're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you so much. Here we go. Here's Eric. There you are. There you are. And then I want to make it so it's full screen. Okay, let me go back to about our work. All right. So next we're going to go to the Gilded Age. Ooh, I recognize this fabric here. Oh, I have to share it. Sorry. I'm going to add it to remove. Stop screen sharing. Window and there we go. I got it. Okay. That was exhausting.
Right.
Thanks everybody. Oh yeah. Carl knows me so well. Oh my gosh. Okay. So here we are at the Gilded Age. Now again, I think we don't have all of the costumes on here because I know you've made a lot of Bertha's costumes this season. I don't think
there's any of season 2 up.
Yeah. I can maybe go over, maybe once we've gone through this, I'll go over to your Instagram.
Okay.
We'll try to get through this though, because I know we want to get through the Gilded Age. Okay, so tell us about how you got involved in the Gilded Age.
Well, again, Kasia I've known for a long, long time, and we hadn't really done anything for easily 10 years. I mean, one day the phone rang, and Patrick Wiley, who's the co-costume designer, asked me if I would be interested in working on this upcoming thing and taking on Marion's clothes. And I said, sure. I mean, I generally don't say no to things, and I don't say no to things like that. So yeah, I mean, it was an unusual experience because, if you scroll down that blue suit that's right below there. Yeah,
yes.
Suit, right. I mean, that mock-up, we fit before the shutdown. And if you, on my Instagram page, there's a picture of her in the green dress that's by the fountain that was we fit that the day before the shutdown. And so all of that was on hold for 6 months.
Wow.
the following September is when shooting started back up, and we sort of had to go back in and remember where we were. So yeah, I mean,
That's crazy.
Because you can
I
tell
can't even imagine.
You can tell that this is pre-pandemic because she's in my fitting room in
Yes.
that was like
Without
one
a mask.
that was ever in my fitting room. So
yeah. And here's some more of her in your fitting room.
Right, and that yellow dress, I took, I packed all including the dress form, and took it over to Cora's apartment where she finished it. It was, I took the sewing machine because, I mean, and you can even see that sketch is the first season when they had a sketch artist for all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's the swatches there.
Yeah.
You have all the swatches, which is really awesome. This one, oh my God, this one's amazing.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Now in season 1, you did, it appears like you did a lot of Marian's, but you also did Gladys's, I think.
Yeah. Elizabeth in my shop, she does Gladys. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, and if I click on these again, oh, wow, look at that. It looks so amazing against the black background.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Gladys, and this
is Marian, I think, on
that's
the
right.
Marian. Yeah. Is this Gladys?
No, that's Marian. That's when she runs away.
Oh.
That's when she runs away.
Yeah.
What's his face? That's Carrie.
Carrie. And actually, there's a it was actually another YouTuber who found there's a fashion plate that looks like this.
Yeah,
the French fashion plate.
I can tell you that that every piece of research that exists is being used by this design team. I mean, mm-hmm. they and some on either side of this period, you know. Mm-hmm. And a little Balenciaga, a little. I mean, yeah.
I think Carrie's costumes in season 1 were my favorite. I loved her. Yeah. She had I don't think you made it, but she had this one black and white dress.
Oh, we made that one, yeah.
With my God, so gorgeous.
Yeah.
Actually, is it? Did you say is it Cassia?
Pom-poms.
Sorry. Yes, the pom-pom one. Yes, that
was
one.
Crazy, right? I mean,
another fashion plate, which it's so exciting to see them be brought to life.
Right.
Is it Kasia or is it Cassia?
I say Cassia.
Cassia. I saw an interview with her and she was talking about how she was talking about the color palette. Like, so for instance, the old guard, she refers to them, they're in the jewel tones, like the Adas and the Agneses.
Right.
And then the new guard, they're in these beautiful, vibrant, pastel colors, but interesting combinations of color like this. I love this combination of these, I don't know if it's lavender flowers.
Yes.
With the green, but is the green in the actual fabric?
No, I don't think so. I'm sorry. While I get up I don't know if I can.
I don't think I can close in there. Sorry, let me go back.
The green was a silk satin. That was the
okay. So sorry, guys.
And then the floral is I believe that they custom printed that one.
Oh yeah, just amazing.
We joked that it looked like a Lord and Taylor shopping bag.
Yeah, but I actually really like it.
It's beautiful. No, it was beautiful.
Yeah, I really like it. And then of course, this one. This one is a really unusual combination. Now, I've had some of my viewers say, they have the acid dyes and they did some interesting color combinations. So this one, this is also, I believe, Marian. Is the yellow one also Marian? I think that's Marian's.
Yes, yeah, that's all Marian. Yeah.
I believe she wears this yellow one when she's meeting up with Rake. I call it the musical scene. They're kind of there holding hands and they look like they're about to break out into song.
Which one? The plain yellow one?
The plain yellow one. Yeah, she's in the park, I think, with Rake, which is funny. His name is Rake.
I don't think that's that dress.
Oh, no?
No, I think this is a different dress. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
My telephone.
I've got it confused. Okay, maybe that one's okay. I apologize. There's so many.
Well, they like Marion in yellow. I will say
Yes.
that. And no, this yellow dress is it's off of a wonderful piece of research. That's I think it's the Maria Fiordanova. Like there's a green Marion dress that has that lacing and the ruching. That's another Russian aristocrat. But it's the most beautiful photograph of this woman, that was dressed for a Sunday or whatever, and goes to the photo studio to have her picture taken. Really gorgeous. And then, yeah, I mean.
What's interesting? Carl thinks that this looks like it could be used in a sci-fi movie. That's a really interesting thing to say.
I have no comment on that.
It's 1880, but things are cyclical. Like they come, and sometimes when you watch sci-fi shows, they do pick up on. So that's interesting. Now this one, it must be from the performance that they do that Gladys does.
That's when Gladys does her quadrille.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just from Marie Antoinette, and she's got the little wig and everything.
Yes.
So pretty.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Did that one. Yes. Yeah.
But the other girls were dressed in these.
Pattern. I'm telling you that we know how to do that. So
it's amazing. It's like a polonaise sort of.
Yeah. I mean, we got out our 18th century panier.
Yeah. But also with sort of the idea, I'm assuming that Gladys is the one who would have designed these because she's so controlling, right?
Right. Okay. If you say so. Yeah.
Well, in the last episode, I don't know if you're caught up. She basically tells Gladys what to wear, and she says, "I know better. You have to listen to me." And she's like, "Can I choose what I get to wear?" No, not when you're meeting a duke. Oh, sorry. Here's the dress. Here's the yellow dress that I was. The one on the right when she meets Ray. Okay.
That's a beautiful custom printed fabric.
Oh. Yeah, you have it. Actually, you've got a close up of it up here.
Yeah, with the buttons. Yeah.
Oh, so pretty. So fresh, right?
Yeah.
Like she's obviously the ingenue.
Yes.
So she gets but she wears blue quite a bit as well. Sorry, let me go back here again.
Yeah. She goes into the
arrow.
Yeah.
And green. It seems to be green, blue, yellow seems to sort of be her palette, whereas the ants are always in very dark jewel tones, sort of. This one here on the right, I really love that one too. This is, I think, when she goes to visit
one of her half mourning costumes.
Yes,
if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, if in the chat, if you have any questions, by the way, for Eric, just shoot them off. We won't be too much longer. Now, I don't recall these.
Okay. There's a good reason for that too.
Okay.
So both of these, I believe that the white cape you see from overhead looking down. I mean, I spent a lot of time on that cape, and that.
Oh my God, it's so stunning.
Custom printed.
Yeah.
Fabric.
Oops.
And then.
Sorry, Eric. I keep screwing up here.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry.
And then
I won't touch anything.
People like a Carrie Astor that's in. It's in some short scene. I think she wears a skirt from a different scene. I mean, sometimes they. Do some cost cutting and, bring things in on budget. So they gave her a new bodice. So.
Oh, okay. The one on the left, by the way, I would totally wear that.
It's fabulous. It really is fabulous. Is
it floor length?
What?
Is it floor length?
It sure is. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is so stunning.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame. But these things happen though, right?
I showed up somewhere else. Because when these things, I watch the show and they're like my children. I'm like, what do they do? What's that doing over there? And
yeah, of course. Yeah. It looks like here that you've cut the fabric out of the. You've cut the flowers out of the fabric and you've put it on like an applique.
I believe so. Yes.
Right here.
Yeah.
So it's not quite in this finished stage yet.
Right.
But I love how you've done this. The tulle kind of looks like feathers.
Right.
I
That
think
was
it's
a
tulle.
pre-purchased trim. I think that was
Oh,
from
no
Amazon.
way.
They brought that to me, and it's a really wonderful solution. It's exactly what you say. It looks like a feather
Yeah.
detail, and we've actually used that idea somewhere else on something else we were doing. Don't ask me what that was, but yeah,
Yeah. So you're able to sort of draw back on like pull.
yeah,
Oh, and now this is Aurora. I
yes,
have to say, I think Aurora's costumes are probably my favorite, like in season one.
yes.
And then I know you said in season two, you're really coming around to loving Enid. I think Enids are my favorite in season two.
Well, everything about Enid is fabulous, right? I mean,
Of course,
I
yeah.
threw that hissy fit and ran up those stairs, and I
Oh,
mean,
God.
that was like a
Yeah,
scene out of like Melrose Place, the
for
18th.
sure. Now this is at I think they're in Rhode Island in this like in Aurora's outfit here.
Yes,
And so it's everything is very beachy and very light, very light colors or nautical. Sometimes like Carrie had a wonderful sort of nautical inspired dress for that scene. So, but
yeah,
no, Aurora is always like she's always like perfect.
yes.
It
I
was
can tell you that making clothes for Kelly O'Hara, I could do
yeah,
that all day long, all my life. I mean, she wears clothes so well, and it's just, I mean,
yeah. And now,
her
have you worked with her
proportions
in theater before?
sure have, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
We've done many, many things together, yeah.
And did you work with Audra and Donna Martin or Donna Murphy as
Murphy?
well?
I mean, I've worked with them before, but I don't do their clothes for this.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Is this Aurora's capelet here?
Yeah,
Or is
that's
this just
a capelet, that we made.
so pretty?
That goes over. I think she was in the carriage for that. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Now, have you noticed any of your costumes get recycled?
I
Through-
have, like one of Aurora's that we made last year. Um, they sort of repurposed it. They sort of refluffed it in a different way. It's one of the. It was a brown dress, but and then I noticed they, that they bring some things back from last season, like Marion is at dinner, and I just saw that yellow dress last week.
Yeah, because now I was reading, like maybe for instance, for someone like, um, uh, sorry, what's her? Now I've lost it. Not Marion, but the new money lady. Uh, sorry, sorry, not Enid. The other one.
Oh,
Sorry, I've just like totally. It's gone out of my head. Um, it'll
you
come to
mean
me.
Oscar's girlfriend?
No, no, the
Oh,
mom.
Bertha.
Bertha, sorry. Yes. Oh my God. Sorry. I just totally lost it for a second there.
Yeah.
She has a ton of clothes. And I was reading that, someone of her stature might have anywhere like, 2 dozen dresses, like for instance. And then after they wear it, let's say out to a ball or something, maybe once or twice, they'll actually sell them off. So, I mean, it seems like some of these characters have a lot of dresses. Like for instance, so it makes sense that they would be recycling through them a bit because otherwise, like they don't have endless budgets, I was assuming.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how to comment. I mean, the I mean, you know, like the whole show is about old money versus new money. So someone that was old money, they would go to Paris and buy Worth gowns. Okay, they
Mhm.
or Worth gowns, whatever. They wouldn't wear them for 3 years because it would be vulgar to wear something so new. You
Oh,
know,
really? Okay, that's interesting. I
you
didn't
know,
know
and
that.
so I mean, I just get the feeling that you know it wasn't necessarily as important that you wear the newest thing unless you are Bertha or something. But you go to some place and you could be wearing something that is that you've worn before or that you've restyled it in some way. Your ladies made a lot of these dresses that you see have had little tweaks happen to them or are
Mm-hmm.
accessorized differently?
I actually just wanted to, so every time I unclick it, okay, here. Oh, actually, I think I can go down this way. I can go this way. There we go. This one surprises me because I did not know that this dress was green. The one here. Oops. The one
Oh,
I just
yeah.
passed. I did. Oh,
You mean the
sorry,
one
guys.
in the ball gown?
The ball gown, which is, inspired by,
That's,
there's a
yeah.
famous painting. I think John Sargent or something.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of like a soft yellow. So I'm like, wow, it's sort of a minty green. So
It is.
strange how
Yeah.
the lighting affects it makes a difference.
Yes. Yeah.
That was absolutely. Did you get a lot of attention for this dress? Because that
Not
was so
particularly.
beautiful. And I love that you show the back of the dresses as well. And then she wore this cloak over top of it, I believe, when she goes to the ball.
That velvet one. Yes.
Yeah. You know what cracks me up in the show is when they walk across the street. And I'm like, oh my God, they're walking across the street in their ball gowns. What if there's like horse poop or something, And again, here's Aurora. So, oh my
Yes.
gosh, so beautiful. The pleating here.
Love that dress. That's in the V&A, that dress, that in a different colorway. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, 30 Days has a great question. He asked, what happens to the dresses and the costumes after the show
Well,
is
they
wrapped?
are in storage,
Mm-hmm.
waiting
Oh, there's
for
the polka dot one.
a decision of whether or not there will be a third season, or and I'm not sure. Different things happen to different costumes. Sometimes they get sold to the costume collection out in Queens and their rental properties, or sometimes they go to the Goodspeed Opera House and you can rent, entire productions of Kiss Me Kate, or there's a lot of different things happen to them.
It's also possible that maybe they'll go on tour. Like I know.
I don't think that they would go on tour.
Oh, you don't think so? Oh, that's too bad.
I don't think they would. Let me finish my thought. They won't go on tour if there's not.
Oh, I lost Eric there. Oh,
Sorry,
I lost you for a second there.
If there's not another season coming, they're not going to launch some sort of exhibit that tours. I mean, if the whole production shuts down, then they could be sold to a rental house, or who knows. Mm-hmm. Or
now here's Carrie's dress that she wears, the one we were talking about. Dress, yeah, the pom-pom dress that I saw the fashion plate for. It does look like they've punched up the color a little bit.
Sure.
Which, I think you'd have to do that.
The thing is that we're not doing a historical reenactment.
Yes.
The story is about us today. And it's like Gone with the Wind is about the Depression. It's not about the Civil War. Mm-hmm. It's about something that speaks to us today. So whatever is necessary for, the camera, the lights, how it photographs, that's what's important, and how it relates to what the story is. We're not trying to do a historical reenactment.
Of course. Yeah. Now, Eric, I've kept you way long. I wanted to ask you one question before we wrap up. But okay. So how long does it take? This is probably really hard to answer, but let's say one of these really elaborate dresses, how long would it take to make one?
Oh, I don't think I could tell you that. I mean, we do we have that information? Absolutely. We keep timesheets, and but we work. It's not necessarily linear. Hopefully I'll get a sketch or sketches. Like I tried to get the Maisel people to make sure that for the next episode, I have all the things Friday afternoon so that I could take them upstate with me and work in my studio there. And I could come in Monday morning with a whole episode patterned and ready to cut out in fabric, so that we could have fittings. And so, and then the fittings are arranged according to the previous shooting schedule and what Rachel has available, and when they're able to get her for a fitting. And so then we have the fitting, and then we work according to what the following shooting schedule is. So it's hard for me to break it out, because we work in that way. We don't just start with the sketch and make a dress, right? I mean,
yes, exactly.
And then we have notes, and then we have, is it more like this, that sort of thing. So
Yeah. Plus you're working on multiple outfits, I'm assuming, at the same time.
Yes.
Actually, Sarah just asked, great question. She says, how difficult it is for you to switch from so many different time periods in all of your projects. Sorry.
It's not difficult at all.
Because I mean, you're working with the sketches and the designs, and so a lot of the work, you were saying, a lot of the research is already done for you, so you're able to switch your brain over.
Is I have it's not difficult for me. Sometimes I mean, I have a lot of Russian people that work for me. I have a lot of young people that are Americans, and if one more person is standing there holding an 18th century man's coat and asking me if it gets shoulder pads, I want to scream. It's like it's the 18th century. Of course, it doesn't get shoulder pads.
Yes.
So, but I have to remain calm. Like,
yes.
No
I kept you way long.
They don't see the difference, and I'm like, how can you not see that this is 18th century? And so,
yes. Well, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us. And
well, you're very welcome.
Like, I'm just kind of like completely blown away. Like, if that was my website, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm really good. Like,
well,
I'd be like patting myself on the back. I'd be like,
well, no, what I find funny about all of that is I look at it sometimes and I'm like, you know what's funny? I don't have to make any of this up. This is all real. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if you're allowed to tell me. Are you allowed to tell me what you're working on? Like, did you have something exciting coming up? Any exciting projects?
Well, actually, we do have a lot of exciting things coming up. Just a lot of interesting Broadway shows coming up that we're getting ready to start, and that we have that we're bidding on, and just interesting things. And you're just going to have to look forward to what it is on my Instagram page, because first of all, I wrote a list of everything that people have called me about and want to talk about. And, the spring season is coming up for Broadway and for TV, because the whole strike that, put everything on hold. And so now I mean, I'm expecting the spring to be a really crazy, crazy time, and full of a lot of work, and, okay, we're getting you your project right now, and just give us a second, and
yeah.
And I have learned that you can just say, we're on it. We just need a little bit more time, and and most of the times, with the associates, they're just going to go, I mean, how many shops are there in New York? 8. I mean, it's like we're all booked, right? And so
For sure,
that sort of thing. So yes, rest assured, there's show business will continue. So
yeah. So it's sort of like full speed ahead now, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
That all of the strikes are done.
Yes.
And thank goodness for that.
Thank God. Thank goodness for that. Yeah.
And thanks, Carl. Carl's been sharing out your Instagram, your website.
Thank you.
You're a bit of an influencer over on Instagram. You got quite a good following now.
What's that? Say again?
You're kind of an influencer. Do you know what an influencer is?
Am I? Yeah. Yes, I do know what an influencer is.
Oh, you do?
I'm
Okay.
not a child.
Okay.
I haven't reached grandpa status.
Yeah,
yet,
yeah.
so
Oh, no, I know you. I know you haven't.
I
I only know this because of my kids.
So I know what an influencer is. So
It was funny. I was interviewing. I don't know if you've worked with Anne Crabtree. I did an interview with her a few weeks ago, and she now has a channel, like an Instagram, where she is like a homesteader, like raising chickens. And I said, "Oh my, yeah." So I said, maybe you'll become like a chicken Instagram influencer on your, like, because she is a costume designer in her day job, but
you know what? I mean, I know people that have chickens, and I find it fascinating. I don't think it's for me.
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to have it out back, like of your home in New York City?
Well, that's the thing, is that it's like, I mean, I leave for the week. So I mean, my neighbors, if they don't bring their suet in at night, it attracts bears. And I don't think I could face getting up there and seeing, I've watched a bear walk across my yard. I mean, I don't think I could face, seeing the chickens completely mutilated.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know we have coyotes in Toronto, so I know what you're saying. Yeah. But anyway, well, Eric, thank you so much. This was so much fun. Would you ever come back?
Of course.
I hope I didn't scare you.
No. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I
oh, it was so wonderful. Well, anyway, thank you to everyone who came tonight. And if you missed part of this interview, it's going to be uploaded and you'll be able to go back and watch it from the beginning. So you can see all the costumes that we shared from Eric's website and as he went through them with us. And also, I'm so excited, like, for the next episode of the Gilded Age, which is going to be out next Sunday. So this last episode, oh my gosh, I was bawling, I was crying.
Yeah,
no spoilers.
They've amped it up, and it's very good. It's fun to watch.
It is. It's someone was saying that, I think it might have been Cassia. She said that it's one of those, because of what's going on in the world right now, it's just so fun to have a show like that. Like, I sort of compared it to like the Dynasty or, the Dallas type of show that you can really like immerse yourself in, but it's like a guilty pleasure. So, but with fabulous costumes.
Absolutely. All that. Yes.
Yeah. So thanks again. And okay, well, take care, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Nice to meet everybody. Thank you.
Okay, bye all. Take care.